In the next few minutes, I'm going to break down some of the key frameworks used by Jeff Bezos to build and lead monster companies like Amazon and Blue Origin. Some of the key takeaways are how to make big decisions more quickly, how to resolve conflict the right way, and how to focus your teams so that in 10 years from now, your business is still relevant. Have you ever been in a meeting that felt like a complete waste of time? Well, Bezos is a fanatic when it comes to eliminating unnecessary meetings. In fact, at Amazon, most meetings are actually required to start by having everybody sit down and read a 6-page narrative-style detailed memo written by the meeting organizer. For meetings that are scheduled with the purpose of solving a problem, what this does is it helps to focus the group and ensure that everybody is on the same page before discussion. And also, it helps to keep the required outcome of the meeting top of mind so that when it comes time to make a decision, people are a lot less likely to get distracted and need to be refreshed on certain pieces of information. Now, another aspect of leadership that Bezos is fanatic about is the process of making good decisions and making them quickly. In a recent interview with Lex Fridman, Bezos said that he wanted to make Blue Origin the most decisive company in the world. While most leaders treat each decision that comes across their desk as equally important, Bezos is careful to treat each decision with the appropriate amount of consideration, instead of treating all of them as equally important. Now, intuitively, this makes sense to us, but I think that there's a lot of leaders that could stand to improve in this area. One framework that Bezos uses to help with this process is something he calls one-way door decisions and two-way door decisions. Decisions that are quickly and cheaply reversible are known as two-way door decisions, while decisions that are not easily reversible are known as one-way door decisions. Like signing a lease on a new building, for example, would be a one-way door decision. Now, in the framework, it's super important that you don't treat two-way door decisions like one-way door decisions, because you'll end up taking a lot of time away from the one-way door decisions that need more attention. It's essential to make two-way door decisions very quickly, because if it turns out to be a bad decision, it's not very hard for you to change course and correct the mistake. Now, with actual one-way door decisions, Bezos emphasizes the importance of getting as much information as possible, getting all the data, so that before you make the decision, you are absolutely sure that this is the best decision that you can make. All questions and aspects of the decision should be understood, if possible, before making the decision. By using this framework, we can become much more decisive leaders and also hopefully reduce the amount of major bad decisions that we're making, like making a bad hire for a key position, for example. Now, speaking of hiring and managing employees, it is super important to have a clear philosophy on how to handle conflict the right way on your team. But before we get into that, please like the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content so far. By doing so, you'll help spread this video to as many people as possible. Now, in regards to conflict at work, I really appreciate some of the wisdom that has come from Bezos on this subject, and I'm sure you will as well. One thing about Bezos' leadership that really stood out to me is how he emphasizes the importance of avoiding compromise. This is really important because while compromising between two conflicting opinions is usually the easiest outcome, it almost always results in a solution that is actually worse than either of the two conflicting solutions proposed. Bezos emphasizes that in disagreements like this, it's important to get as much data and truth as possible. For example, if you're disagreeing on a metric, maybe send it back to the analyst for further analysis. Now, when this is not possible and the absolute truth is not attainable, Bezos champions an outcome that he calls disagree and commit. See, in a disagree and commit situation, usually the team will go with the opinion from the person who has the most merit based on the subject, and the entire team will go with that proposed solution, even though they might not all agree with it. And what I mean by merit is not always the most senior person. In fact, Bezos speaks about how he often disagrees and commits with his direct reports because they're closer to the ground truth Even though Bezos doesn't agree with their opinion, sometimes they're more likely to be right. And on this same thread, actually, one interesting thing about Bezos and Amazon is that in meetings, junior team members will always speak first, because if the senior team members are speaking first in meetings, when the junior team members have different opinions, sometimes they will question their opinions because it's a senior person sharing, and they will think that, oh, because this person is senior to me, I think that they are probably right. The idea behind this is that junior team members are usually closer to the ground truth. And if senior members speak first with opinions that are contrasting their own, then they might question their opinions due to the seniority of the person sharing. And I think the practice of that is evident, as Amazon seems to be an extremely effective company. Now, just like Bezos wants to make Blue Origin the most decisive company in the world, Amazon has been known to be the most customer-obsessed company in the world. One of the main things that I took away from Bezos speaking about this value is that data and KPIs, key performance indicators, should always have their proper place, and they should never be elevated too high in decision-making processes. So what I mean by this is that while data and KPIs are extremely important, it's also important that they should not be the absolute truth, and you should always pay attention to customer complaints and hunches that you might have about certain situations in your team or your business. In fact, Bezos said that if you feel in your gut that there might be something wrong, but the data is showing that everything is good, everything is healthy, more often than not, there actually will be a problem, contrary to what the data might be showing. Now, this can happen for a variety of reasons, but it usually happens either due to bad data collection processes or you're just measuring the wrong thing. But chances are, if you have customer complaints or you feel in your gut something is wrong, then likely something is going to be wrong. For this reason, it's important for your team or business to have a highly competent customer success manager or customer service lead. The voice of your customers will likely be the biggest influence in changing your product and improving your services. Now, in my mind, one of the most impressive things about Amazon as a company is that it seems like 10 years ago, they knew exactly what the market would look like today. Now, I don't think that they have a crystal ball or a way to view the future, but Bezos actually shared a little bit about this in his recent interview on the Lex Fridman podcast. In the interview, Bezos said that 10 years from now, customers are still going to want low prices. I know they're still going to want fast delivery, and I know that they're still going to want a big selection. So it's impossible to imagine a scenario where 10 years from now, a customer says, I love Amazon, I just wish the prices were a little higher, or I love Amazon, I just wish you delivered a little more slowly. So when you identify the big things, you can tell they're worth putting the energy into because they're stable in time. Now, what I took away from this is that it's really important to keep your team focused on things that will not change over time. Things most likely related to making your product cheaper, higher quality, and easier to use. Because in an age where technology and the markets are evolving faster than ever, it's super important to stay focused on the things that will remain constant through all of the change happening. Now, for this, Bezos actually has another framework where he separates the big long-term issues from the little issues that he also calls paper cuts. At Amazon, there are separate teams responsible for each of these. So for the big long-term issues, they will not focus on paper cuts. And on the other hand, they will have teams that solely focus on these small, urgent issues that come up. Bezos said that he found when one team was responsible for both, usually all of the attention goes to putting out fires and fixing the paper cuts, and the big long-term issues always get neglected. So now, when it comes to applying this to our teams and our businesses, if splitting these responsibilities is not practical for your team, one thing that you might consider doing is instead splitting the time. So for example, having Monday be a day where your team only works on the big long-term issues, while the rest of the week can be devoted to fixing paper cuts. Now, if you're like me, you really enjoy watching heavy-hitting CEOs like Jeff Bezos and trying to understand why they're so successful. If you're enjoying the video so far, then I would definitely recommend that you check out a similar video that I did on Elon Musk and the frameworks that he uses to build the world's first reusable rockets and the world's largest car company. I read the entire Elon Musk biography that just came out, and there were actually a ton of good nuggets that I share in this video, so check it out.